live feed is there. Good morning or good afternoon. Welcome to today's hearing of an application from Hanwell News, 116 Uxbridge Road, Hanwell, London, W7 3SU. Welcome to today's hearing. My name is Councillor Kelly. I'll be chairing today's meeting. My colleagues are Councillor Binder Rai and Councillor Nigel Sumner. We will comprise today's subcommittee. We also have Cornelia Harding and Jack Roberts, who are clerks to the subcommittee and will be minuting the meeting. We also have Alison Luff, who is legal advisor to the subcommittee, and Anjali Garcha, who is licensing processing team leader, who will introduce the report. In accordance with the procedure, I will invite the licensing officer to introduce the report and provide any clarification on factual issues. They'll invite the applicant, or in this case, the applicant's representative, to present the application, answer any questions, and call upon any witnesses. Then I'll invite those who have made representations, objections to make them, answer any questions, and call upon any witnesses. At the conclusion of the hearing, the subcommittee, accompanied by the legal advisor and committee democratic services officer, will retire to consider its decision. The decision will be given at the end of the meeting and confirmed in writing within 5 working days. If the panel is unable to reach a decision, you'll be also notified within 5 working days. So just before I ask Anjali to introduce the reports, we got, if you could introduce it. Sir, please find yourself a seat.
No, that's fine. No problem.
Well,
yes, sir, that's not a problem.
No, I'm asking you to take a seat. Please do so.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're the applicant, sir. So, you know, we have to give you the opportunity to, yeah. That's fine. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it's the first time for you to be in this situation, and we've done it before, but thank you very much. Mr. Deere, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Bob Deere, Licensing Compliance and Enforcement Officer, Ealing Council.
Metropolitan Police.
Morning, Chair. Sorry, afternoon. PC Kerry Smart, Police Licensing Officer.
And Mr. Panchal and your applicant.
Yeah, Mr. Panchal from Personal License Courses UK Limited.
Yes, just call me Sasi.
So you'll have to repeat that name. Or
my name is Sasi.
Sasi Karan is his name.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. Ms. Garcha.
Hi. So Mr. Sasi Taran Esami, I hope I pronounced that right, has made an application for a new premises licence in relation to Hanwell News, located at 116 Uxbridge Road, Hanwell, London, W7 3SU. 2 representations have been received, one from the Metropolitan Police Service and the second one from Ealing Council Licensing Enforcement and Compliance Team. The licensable activities that have been applied for are as follows. Supply of alcohol for off supplies, Monday to Thursday, 8 AM to 2300 hours, Friday to Saturday, 10 AM to 2300 hours, and Sunday, 11 AM to 2230 hours. And the subject premises is currently a convenience store and off license, and it's located within the special policy area as defined in the council statement of licensing policy. If there's anything else I can assist you with, Chair.
That appears to be fine. Thank you very much. We have Mr. Panchal, if you'd like to, I'll invite you to present the application to the subcommittee, sir.
Thank you very much, Chair. As you heard, and as you have seen, the client is here with me. We have had this application previously. We understand in 2021, Mr. Sasidaran does now have the premises with him. He is running the premises since 2021 March. During that period in 7th June, there was a fire at the premises, an arson attack happened at the premises, and Mr. Sasitaran stopped paying the rent to the landlord, just for your information, but he still holds the shop. There was a community collectively during that arson attack. There was a fire at the premises, and during that arson attack, the community got together, the local community got together regarding this shop, collected funds to make sure the shop can re-get itself back onto its feet. But at the same time, Mr. Sasitaran was paying the insurance money to the landlord, which there is an insurance claim ongoing at the moment. And the shop should be ready in operation within the next 2-3 months. So at the moment, the shop isn't in operation. It is under refurbishment, and there will be an insurance claim which is ongoing at the moment. But the local community is given Mr. Sasitaran a full support, and in this case, Mr. Sasitaran owns the shop. Going back to the details about the representations, I'm going to quickly go through the operating schedule, which, if you can look on page 21 of the bundle, I think it's 15 on your side. According to me, it's on page 21 of the 48 of the bundle. I would like to stress on the operating schedule, because I do gather that Kerry Smart police have said that there will be strong beer be served. But may I just remind the committee that we have suggested in our operating schedule that there will be operating schedule under the prevention of crime and disorder. Number 10, which says there will be no strong or alcohol beer to be served above 5.5. So there will be no strong beer. There'll be no single cans of beer to be supplied. There will be no spirits and miniatures in the size of 5 cl and below. So that has already been covered up. There will be a CCTV and everything. The premises at the moment are under refurbishment. I do understand that from Kerry Smart's representation that she has looked into, but Mr. Sasitaran is not a limited company, and that is why hence it is not on the company's house. He will be trading on an individual person. He agreed, if you look at the operating schedule, and if you look at 16, Mr. Kathidaran, the landlord.
You're fading away there slightly, Mr.
Page 22 of
Pancho.
Sorry?
You're fading away there, Mr. Pancho, a bit for a moment.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry. So on page 22, we have suggested that Mr. Kathidaran shall not be allowed to enter the property or have any business, which he does not at the moment. Since March 2021, Mr. Kathidaran does not have.
You're fading away again, Mr. Pancho.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
I can, yeah.
I don't know why, but so Mr. Kathidaran on page 22 of the top number 16. A suggestion by Mr. Bob Deere was that he also wants when I spoke to Bob Deere regarding the application, that he would suggest that even the sister of Mr. Kathidaran should not be allowed to work on, and Mr. Sasitaran is happy to have that included in the thing. Number 15 clearly says a management contract or a lease agreement shall be given within the next 3 months if the license is granted. So we are happy to have that granted. So it clearly sees that Mr. Sasitaran is an individual person who's going to be running, and he understands the 4 licensing objectives. As soon as the shop is up and running, the training manuals, the refusal book, the incident book shall be available at all times. We understand that this premises is on a special area, but this is not an increase of another premises in the area. This used to be there for quite a long time. The shop used to exist on the premises for quite a long time. So, Chairman, we feel that Since Mr. Kass, there is any questions to be asked to Mr. Sasdan regarding the 4 licensing objectives, we are happy to answer that. He is up here with me. And if there is anything we can answer, we feel that the application be granted. That's all we can say at this instance.
Thank very much, Ms. Panchal. At this point, Mr. Ayasami, we will ask the responsible authorities, which is the police and the licensing authority enforcement officer, to ask questions. They'll be asking questions to your licensing agents, but he will then in turn ask you to perhaps answer those questions as and when required. So I will go to, well, I'll leave it entirely up to yourselves, whether it's the PC Smart or Mr. Deere, whoever wishes to go first.
Ladies first, sir.
Okay, well.
Very kind of you. Well, very kind.
Thank you, dear. Thank you, Bob. Yeah.
Can I just ask, what experience has the applicant got in running a licensed premise?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Kerry. That what experience we all when we start, we never have an experience. Sometimes when we get into business, but we get into business because we feel that yes, we can do it. We've learned about it. We've read about it. So Mr. Sasitharan, since March 2021, has had this business taken over. He understands the licensing matters. He understands how retail industry works. He's educated. He can speak very good English, and he can. If there's any questions or anything that I can ask Mr. Sasitharan about his experience, I will put him forward to answer that.
I was working for Eddie's convenience.
Sorry,
I can't hear what you're saying. Sorry.
Yeah, this might be a point to come.
Well, can you hear me?
Mr. Asasami, come closer. Put your mask on if Mr. Panchal requires it.
All right.
And closer to the mic so that we can do this.
Okay.
Mr. Panchal, please.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Bro, I got 10 years experience when I started. I mean, I was working for year 2000 to 2010 opposite Ealing Hospital. He was calling Eddie's convenience store, right? That time we used to, I know how off license, what time to what time they open. Like, for example, you don't open, there's a certain times you open on a Good Friday, right, Easter, you see. And who do you have to sell the alcohol and stuff like that? You can't sell alcohol for the drunk people, right? You're gonna make it worse, stuff like that. I see. And
That's good.
Do you know what the 4 licensing objectives are?
Yeah, you're protecting the children from harm and preventing from disorder and crime. And another one is no public nuisance. I mean, and a public safety as well.
Okay. And are you aware of the history of this premise of Hanwell News?
Yes, because I'm a local person from Hanwell because I live by the Ealing Hospital anyway. Because like a couple of weeks ago, that's opposite our shop, the Hanwell News. Do you know that clock tower? There's a pub there called Duke of York. There was a stabbing as well. I was there when the incident was happened. You see, so I'm just local. I know the area very well. You see. So I don't have any issue with that.
But have you run a shop, or have you just worked in a shop?
I was working for 10 years in a shop.
Okay, and how have you dealt with street drinkers in the past? How have you dealt with that?
Well, you don't sell them. You don't sell them at all because I've seen. Until today, I'm still seeing some people outside the post office. There's a guy keep begging money with strong beers always. When I go and withdraw money from the cash machine, right, he's asking me for cigarettes and alcohol and stuff like that. You see, he's just begging and shouting and swearing this and that. So I can see people are still drinking on the street, you see, but it's all about your mentality. You see, if I'm gonna make it worse for the person, looks like I'm doing a crime. You see, looks like I'm selling it, I'm gonna kill him by selling alcohol to him. Right? In that case, I just not gonna allow him to come into the shop.
Okay, and in relation to the lease, have you signed a lease agreement?
The lease agreement, yes,
Yeah.
So have you got a signed lease agreement?
yes.
Huh?
Have you got,
This one.
what, can you
No, no,
confirm why?
the lease for the document.
Oh, for the
the
documents.
shop.
No, that one.
For the shop, Hanwell News, have you got a signed lease agreement?
No, not yet.
Okay, so who currently owns that shop then? What name is the lease currently in at the moment?
Is what you mean? What you mean? Like a annual use? Yeah, annual use.
So you haven't signed a lease at the moment. So whose name is on that lease at the moment?
Me.
But you haven't signed a lease. You just said you
No,
haven't
yeah, I haven't
signed it.
signed the lease yet. Because
Okay,
the
so
shop is
who does own it at the moment?
Mr. Karan, is it Mr. Karan?
Sorry, you broke up.
Mr. Karen.
Mr. Karan.
Okay. And so has he got any involvement in Hanwell News when you're going to be taken over? Will he be
Like-
financially involved?
Like for example, such as what?
So
Like
will you be giving him rent?
Oh yeah, I'm paying rent. I'm gonna pay, but at the last year I stopped paying rent since the shop got burned,
Yeah.
right? But once it's got back to normal, I mean, when all the things are happened now, I mean, everything back to normal, then I have to start paying rent to him. You see, but he's not gonna get involved into my business at all.
Okay. So why have you not signed a lease? Why is there not a lease agreement signed?
Because well, everything.
If you've been there since March last year, is that correct? March
In
21?
process at the moment.
Yeah, it's in the process at the moment.
But you've been in there, so you've been in there a year and there's been no lease agreement.
No, because we've got fires in it. I mean, the shop got burned on last year, like a June.
But you've been there since March though, haven't you? So you
Yeah,
traded
it's only
from
for
March
3
to
months.
June.
Yeah, because just for 3 months.
Okay, but you haven't got a lease agreement.
No, not yet.
Okay, so the previous owner has still got a financial involvement in the premise. Is that correct?
Financial, like a
Like what? That's
no, I don't think so. No, like financial, like just paying rent. That's it.
Yeah, so that's still a financial involvement,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Because you're going to pay him rent. So
Yes.
the previous owner, you're
Yeah.
still going to be paying him rent. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, so he still has financial involvement in the premise.
yes.
Okay. All right. No further questions, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Dear.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Al-Sami, we've been here before, haven't we? Because you applied last year for a license at these premises. Is that
Yes.
correct? Yes,
Yeah.
you did.
Thank you.
And you told the committee then that Mr. Karen wouldn't have any involvement in the business. And in your application, you've put in there that the local community came together and gave money to your GoFund page. It wasn't your GoFund page, was it? It was given to Mr. Karen.
because he's the landlord.
Yeah, because obviously, because he's a landlord.
Well, you're the business owner, weren't you, when it burnt down?
Yeah, but the shop got burned. After that, we got the donation from the public.
Exactly. So you own the business and running the business with your money, your stock from March.
All right. The stock wasn't that much.
Wait a minute. March
Okay.
2021. Then all of a sudden you have a fire. Well, it wasn't just a fire, it was an arson, wasn't it? It was deliberate.
Yeah.
For some
Arson,
reason, somebody ran in there and they give money to Mr. Karen. But it was your stock, wasn't it? Your business.
Yes.
Well, why
Well, I
give money
bought
to
it,
Mr.
well-
Karen?
Right. Okay. When I bought the business, right, it's only less than £6,000, just like a soft drinks and cigarettes, some cigarettes and crepes and newspapers. That was that. Right. There's nothing, hardly nothing in there. There's no alcohol, nothing at all. Right. How? Put it this way. So obviously,
You didn't buy a business, you bought stock.
pardon?
You didn't buy a business because you
Yeah,
haven't.
you bought a
haven't
stock.
bought it,
Yeah,
you bought
yeah, you
stock.
pay money for the stock.
Thank you. Yeah, carry on. Yeah.
You see, then the previous owner, probably a lot of people they know him as well. You see, so that's why they gave the donation to him.
Okay. So your previous experience,
Yeah,
you worked in the shop that is now called Landis opposite Ealing Hospital.
yeah,
And did you say from 2000 for 10 years?
yeah, 2000 to 2010.
All right. So what was you doing from 2010 to now? What's your business now? What are you doing?
I'm a full-time supervisor for sterilizing instruments for the NHS.
That's
The
right.
whole, right. Basically, let's say if you're going for theater, for any patients going for operations, after the surgeons, when they use all the instruments, we sterilize them and decontaminate it. That's my job.
That's right. My apologies. I remember now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
You
It's a main
you work
key
nights.
worker.
You work nights, don't you?
Yeah.
Just one final question then. On the day of, or the afternoon, the night of the fire.
Yeah, right. In the evening.
It was your business, wasn't it?
Yes.
So, and you're willing to Mr. Thirakaran not coming to the shop and his wife and his sister. Why was
sorry, Mr. Who?
Mr. Thirakaran?
Oh, Dibakaran. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Thirakaran. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said he can be. He'll have no involvement in the business, and his wife and his sister, but she was working in the shop, wasn't she, when they came in and set fire to it? So she was one of your staff then.
Right. Okay. If I'm going to employ a new staff, I don't know the person very well, right? You are dealing with the money, with the till and stuff like that. So I was captain them because I trust them. I know that shop very well for a long time, over 10, 15 years, because I'm a Hanwell area. I live by the Hanwell to Ealing Hospital is not very that far anyway. So just about 5 minutes walking distance, you see. I know them very well. I used to go and buy my papers, snacks, everything. So I trust the people, you see. So when I bought the shop, right, I know them very well. Because of that, I trust, I keep them as a thing, right? If I'm going to employ a new staff, which is, I don't know, put it this way, if I'm going to employ him as a new staff, I need to teach him everything from the basic, everything, and like a selling stuff, and which is, you don't know how to serve the customer. Customer is important for me, you see. They're the one paying the money.
Let me perhaps. Do you think your judgment was good when you employed Mrs. Sivakathran's?
There's no license.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you think, on reflection, that was a good judgment?
Yeah. That time I don't have any license. That time, you see.
Okay.
So I have to wait until the license when
there was no license. There was no license in the premises, was there, at that time?
No, there was no alcohol and stuff like that.
Yeah. So your judgment was to employ a person who was related to the premises holder who had their license revoked.
Yes, that time. So because they have a license, right? So that's why it's
yeah. Okay. Sorry, Bob. I'm just trying to.
Thank you, Chair. But Mr. Al-Sami, you've got a personal license, haven't you?
Yes.
So why would you need to have a member of staff who has been in the shop? I appreciate you weren't selling alcohol, but they're untrustworthy. They've proved that because they sold drinks to street drinkers at 7:30 in the morning, and were
Okay.
caught by us.
Okay.
So you're a local man. You said, even though they've only been there since 2015, on and off. So you knew them, so you knew how untrustworthy they were, surely.
It's not about, well, I mean, you know, some people, well, I mean, I don't know how to explain that. I mean, yeah, put it this way. Okay. I've been here to that shop for many times and stuff like that, you see, because sometimes, okay, put it this way. Before that, I used to take, sometimes they don't, their cash machine is not working. The machine, I mean, the credit card machine. So I will ask them to give me a credit. So I'll just because I'm rushing to work, right? I'll tell them I'm going to pay you tomorrow, right? When I come back after my work, right? They will say, okay, fine, no problem, because we've been here for years and coming all the time. I'm a regular customer before that. So that's why I kind of like trust them. You see?
Okay, thank you. Chair, that's no other questions.
Yeah, thank you. Councillors, Councillor Wright, do you have any questions to the applicant?
Yes, I do. I'm a little bit confused I'm still confused despite the answers about the GoFund donations. If I still don't understand, if you were running the business, why was the GoFund collection done by the business owner and went to him if you were running the business? My second query is, you were running the business from March until the fire without a lease agreement. It just doesn't feel like good business practice to me.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, because I start, well, because, you know, yeah, everything wasn't prepared very well yet. You see, everything, you know, that example, well, for the lease agreement like we asked for, right? I was contacting Mr. Panchal as well to sort everything out because, you know, things, all of a sudden things gone very bad at the moment last year, right? So it takes, everything got delayed. Everything got delayed. You see?
But 3 months is quite a long time when you've taken over.
I don't have any alcohol license as well at that time. You see, no alcohol being sold.
Well,
So everything.
If you leave aside the alcohol, what doesn't make sense to me is that you're running a business. You still had 3 months or so to sort out the lease agreement, and it still wasn't sorted out. It just feels like, you know, it isn't good business practice.
Yeah, because I need to see Mr. Panchal, you see, I need to speak with landlord, what's going on and stuff like that as well. You see? So that's why it's everything been delayed. Everything keep delaying. That time was a lot.
Panchal could offer some clarity on that, given that he has.
That time was a lockdown as well. Everything was.
Ms. Osami, given and this is to help explore Councillor Rai's question.
Sorry.
Given that Mr. Panchal has represented.
Yes, sorry, Chair.
The old applicant, and to my knowledge, every time 116 has an address.
Yes,
Mr. Panchal has been with us, so he may be able to offer some context and background on that timeline.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. In March 2021, we did apply for a license for Mrs. Sasidharan, and that particular instance, the deal with the freeholder was that if alcohol license be granted, I'll go ahead with the lease and that. So the alcohol license was not granted at that particular instance, and Mr. Sasidharan kept on running the shop. And then came the incident of 7th June where the fire took over and everything was in a mess, and the lease documents were going to be prepared. Even now, the lease documents is subject to, again, Mr. Sasidharan is going to sit down whether it is worth for him to go ahead if there was no alcohol license, whether he wants to carry on running with the shop, or he wants to give the keys back to the freeholder. That will all depend on him getting the alcohol license. So there is a bit of a mess up with the fire and with the pandemic, and everything has come together. And that is where we are standing at the moment.
Okay.
So, Councillor Rye, this was your space.
So my second question hasn't really been clarified, and that was about the GoFund donations. How?
Yeah, so I can answer that also, because we were ourselves surprised, because we didn't realize that there was a huge support by the local community in getting the funds together for the shop, and the funds were not that huge, but the local community got together and paid £1,200. Now, in that very instance, because the lease wasn't on Sasidharan's name, the freeholder was supposed to get the shop back to normal, which is still not on foot yet. That is why there's going to be another 2-3 months with the insurance money coming in. These funds were only about £1,200 collected by the local people, and they were then given to the freeholder to say, get the shop back onto its stage. In the meantime, Mr. Sasidharan had already paid for the stock, which was non-alcoholic, because there was no alcohol at the shop at that particular instance. So Mr. Sasidharan also is at a loss, so he stopped paying the rent. He said to the freeholder, I will not be paying any more rent unless and until the shop comes back to normal. Then again, it will take another 2-3 months before even the shop gets open now.
Okay, so I have one more question, which is a very direct question. What exactly is the relationship between the applicant and the previous owner of the business?
There is no relation between them, except that they are the same community. In other words, Mr. Sasidharan is a Tamil.
No, Malaysian.
Sorry, Malaysian. I beg your pardon. My apologies. My apologies to that.
May I ask him to answer that question, please?
Yes, sorry.
Sorry, I'm not from Malaysian, from British. I'm born in Malaysia.
I can't hear.
He says he's born in Malaysia and he's not Tamil.
Yeah.
You're Tamil Malaysian, and the current owner, freeholder, is of, we need to be very careful here.
A Sri Lankan.
We're British, but we belong to cultural communities.
Yeah.
And he
So
belongs to similar ethnic cultural community. Are you related? Do you have any blood relation?
No.
Is anybody married?
No.
Is anybody
My missus will kill me. She's Polish.
cohabiting? Okay, fine.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sorry, he said that his missus is Polish and will kill her if he ever says
Okay,
that. I do apologize. Sorry.
So there's no family relationship.
No.
Beyond the, you're part of the wider community. You're in community, but not related.
Okay. Understand. Thank you very much, Chair.
Yeah. Just to reiterate to all the councillors that I have a wider community relation with the ethnic minorities when it comes to the West London area. As you've seen, you see me every hearing, and everybody jumps in because we speak 5 different kind of languages. We have a Tamil trainer here, we have a Polish trainer, we have a Punjabi trainer, we have a Gujarati trainer. So we do come across a lot of ethnic minority people in the area, and you can see that the off-license business, as said before, it's over about £35 billion worth in the country, run by ethnic minorities. It is surprising when we did the survey about it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Obviously, you can have an opportunity further down the line any time you wish. Just indicate. Councillor Sumner.
No, I have no questions. Thank you, Chair. That haven't already been asked.
Yeah, sure. Let me just think. Mr. Ironstommy. Something just escaped me there now. So who's put the insurance claim in for the premises?
I can because I was a little bit involved in writing to the insurance company. When in March 2021, when Mr. Sasidharan took over the premises, the entire building, Mr. Kathisaran, that is his name, if I'm not mistaken, it became the freeholder of the building. So he took a building insurance with the contents then. And then Mr. Sasidaran paid the premium to the building owner. So in other words, the insurance claim has to go through the landlord to the insurance, which we wrote to the insurance to say that's the claim to be made.
So fine. So how does Mr. Ayasami, how does he claim for his lost stock?
Well, it will have to come through the landlords now. It will not have to come through the insurance directly. It will come through the insurance to the landlords, and the landlords will then they have to facilitate.
I mean, but have you not made that claim already to the landlord?
No, because everything.
He can't claim at the landlords, but the landlords has agreed.
He's lost his stock, so he hasn't claimed anything yet.
He's claimed that that's why hence he hasn't paid the rent since last year June, waiting for the insurance claim to complete.
Okay. That's fine for the time being. I think just bear with me. Just want to explore a bit further. What would Mr. Ayasami understand to be a strong beer in terms of street drinking, and what would he understand to be a strong beer?
Are you saying in terms of volume, or are you saying in terms
of by volume? Yeah.
Volume is too high. They're gonna make put it this
into the mic.
Oh, I mean the strong beers. You're gonna make a person to drink quick, get drunk quick.
Yeah. And right. What would the
person will get aggressive. And the person gonna get aggressive, right?
But what would that ABV be?
Go 5.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've answered the question. Five.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Mr. Panchal answered the question. You didn't get the opportunity there. And why might it be a condition that you don't sell sales of spirits in miniatures?
Sorry, Chairman. Our advice always has been to the clients by not selling miniatures.
Mr. Panchal, I would like.
Yeah.
The gentleman has undergone the training. Why wouldn't you serve miniatures?
Well, the miniatures can cause problems for the person who wants to get drunk. Put it this way, right? Let's say 8 o'clock in the morning. If someone wants a miniature to get drunk before they go to work or before they get into the bars or something like that, by the time when they get there, they already get drunk.
Okay.
See? So
that's a very good answer. Thank you very much. Just notably, actually, on page 21 of 48, number 12, it says there must be no sale of miniature sizes 5 cl. Oh no, 5 ml. That's correct. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, 5 cl. Okay. Yes. Okay. And obviously, who would be working at the shop? You'd be there yourself. Would you be giving?
Well, I'm going to invite someone else now.
When the shop opens.
Well,
who will be working at the shop? Yourself and who else? Who do you anticipate working there?
Who would you anticipate?
I need to employ someone else now.
You would be employing someone else.
Yeah.
And what?
Because I don't know when the shop going to get ready. It might take about a couple of months. So I need to get someone to.
Yeah, obviously you've got.
No, I can't hear what's being said.
You need to try and come into the mic a bit more, please.
Can you swap seats? possible.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Well, I could hear you there a moment ago. Just try and find
might-
the mic.
Right, it might take about a couple of months to get everything ready. The shop gets everything ready. So I still got time to get someone to train them and stuff like that. You see, it
Okay,
might
so-
take about.
So when you say training, what would you anticipate?
Well, personal license, follow the procedures and stuff like that. You
So,
see,
so you'd look to give them a personal you'd undertake for them to get a personal license as well.
that's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I understand you don't have that person in mind
No,
yet.
well, I mean, the main thing you need to follow the 4 procedures. What they call the license objective, everything. You see, it's not easy. I mean, to train a person, you might take a while.
Yeah, you're quite right. I mean, I've been sitting on these panels for a while, and it's still hard for me to reel off those licensing objectives when asked. But that's fine. Okay. No, I don't have any further questions for the applicant or Mr. Panchal at this time.
Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Binder. Yeah, Councillor Wright.
I wasn't quite sure whether Mr. Sasikan was going to be working in the shop or not himself, or was he just going to employ other staff to run the shop?
He is going to be working in the shop
Yeah, I'm gonna spend
3 to 4 times in a week. Apart from
Mr.
working.
Gaisani. Yeah, this gentleman here, the applicant. Yeah.
So he's going to be working part-time.
Well, I'm going to spend most of my time in the shop, obviously, because you need to know. Well, at the end of the day, when you sell what you sell and what goes out, then you need to do all the cash and carry and stuff like that. See? Yeah, money counting and stuff like that. You see, at the end of the day, you need to do all the countings as well. See.
So just a quick supplementary. Will you be giving up your job with the NHS then?
In the future, yes. In the future, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Lovely, thank
So
you.
we've had a bit of V now, but let's if we can always, if anybody's got anything, they can come back to it. Okay. Right. So I'd like to take representations from the police. Go ahead, please. Kerry.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. So, as per my representation, and I'll cover a few bits that's obviously been mentioned today. So, as we're all aware that the premises is located within the Elthorne Special Policy Area, and the as we know, Hanwell News did have a premises licence, but it got reviewed and revoked on the 16th of September 2020. Hanwell Clock Tower, it's a well-known hotspot area for street drinking. We all know that. Street drinkers congregating in the area, causing a public nuisance and antisocial behaviour at all times of day and night. Like Mr. Deers said, he's witnessed the premise service served them at 7:30 in the morning. It's a real concern for the police because obviously it's a community-based area. There's schools in the area, so school children are passing by, and it's not correct that they should be witnessing this antisocial behaviour. And the police believe that if another licensed premise in the area, it would only contribute further to a problematic area anyway. It's been confirmed today that there isn't a lease agreement that's been signed, even though the applicant has been involved with the premise since March last year. So that's quite concerning, and he's already said that the rent will be paid to the previous owner. So that the police aren't convinced that the previous owner aren't going to have any, well, it's been confirmed that he is still going to have a financial involvement in the premise. So that's another concern for the police. Yes, they've applied for core hours. Yes, they've submitted conditions within the application that are proportionate and necessary for the licensing objectives. But the police strongly believe that the the application should not be granted on the basis that the applicant, yes, he said that he understands the licensing objectives, but the police aren't convinced or happy that he can run a premise to promote the licensing objectives. He doesn't sound confident that he understands what is expected of him of a responsible retailer. So therefore, the police believe that the application should not be granted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dear.
Thank you, Chair. As my representation says, and as PC Smart has already said, this isn't a special priority area, one that was adopted in July 2020 due to street drinking, crime disorder, antisocial behaviour, and it's fully backed up by evidence. Mr. Panchal mentions, and also the report mentions, that this premise has been operating as a convenience store stroke off license. Well, yes, a convenience store, but not an off license, because it lost its license when it was reviewed. And at a subsequent appeal, the district judge fully appreciated why it was revoked and dismissed the appeal. Mr. Panchal says, and obviously he did say that under the policy, one possible circumstance when you can err from your policy in paragraph 2.1 states that the policy intended to be strictly applied. Exemptions must be genuine exceptional. I say one possible circumstance is to substitute one premise for another. That Mr. Panchal did mention, well, no, it wasn't an off license. It hadn't been an off license because it had been revoked. And I don't think when this policy was written and subsequently reviewed, that was one substitute. You don't substitute a premise that's lost its license with another license in an area that is a special priority area, and so that one is not to be even listened to, be quite sure. It says must be generally exceptional. Well, I've seen nothing in this application, operating schedule, or from Mr. Isami that makes it exceptional in my idea. It's just a normal application. Nothing stands out to me. His management or what he's going to do to improve the area. It says that the premise must be well managed. Well, no disrespect to the applicant, but he hasn't run an off license or worked in an off license for 12 years. And I appreciate once you've ridden the bike, you don't normally forget, but times have changed with off licenses and the licensing trade, especially since lockdown. The applicant, I say, mentions 5.5 alcohol in his application. That's just to get this application granted. And with no lease, I'm afraid, Mr. Thera Karen can come downstairs, because he lives upstairs, or did, and just take the shop back, because we've got no guarantee that a lease will even be signed and produced within 3 months, because there's nothing we can do if a lease isn't signed. The area, there was, in fact, the applicant mentioned it wasn't actually a stabbing outside the Duke of York. It was nothing to do with the Duke of York. It was actually 2 street drinkers at 9:52 in the morning, and that's AM, decided to have a fight because they were both, I'm afraid to say, legless. And one punched one so many times, he then kicked him when he was down. An air ambulance had to land close by, and he was rushed to hospital. Thankfully, he survived. However, it just shows you what the area is. We don't need another off license in the area. And very quickly, to go on to about the GoFund page, there was actually some comments made by the local residents, the caring local residents of Hanwell, who were a bit upset that they've been duped by the the sorry story that had been put up on that GoFund page, and comments like, he was what a dodgy bloke, and I knew there was something fishy going on at those premises. So with my representation, Chair, I don't see anything exceptional that's been heard before me. We've already got 8 off licenses in the area. We don't need another one. That's why I think this one should be rejected completely.
Thank you, Mr. Dare. Okay. So I'm on a different, that's the representations. Do you have any questions, Mr. Panchal, on behalf of your client to either us as panel councillors or the police or Mr. Deere? Questions that might assuage their concerns?
Sorry, yes, Chairman, I do have quite a lot of questions, which I can see in Mr. Bob Deere and Kerry Smart's representations. And first of all, I'd like to bring it to notice of the committee and then Bob Deere also. Under the guidance section 182 14.19 clearly states need is not something that that we should look at. And Mr. Bob's just said that there are 14 premises licenses around the area. So need is a concern that it's a commercial demand that looks into. I agree that there is a special area. This license has been there for quite a long time and was revoked because the other owners did not, the previous owner did not satisfy to run the 4 licensing objectives correctly. Now, coming back to what Mr. Bob Deere and Kerry Smarts, my concern is, and I'd like to say to the committee what concern I'm looking at. We are having a condition number on page 21. I would like the committee to go back to page 21, 22 of the operating schedule, where we clearly have stated under section 16 of the condition that Mr. Kati, Dharan, whatever, shall not be entering the premises during the licensable activity and shall be banned from the premises. Now, whether he stays upstairs or whether he stays next door or wherever, he shall not be allowed, which clearly states. It will be a breach of the Licensing Act if under the section 136 of the guidance, and he could be prosecuted for it if he broke or breached any of the conditions. And in future, I understand that Mr. Deere says that, yes, he's concerned that the license might be given back to the previous owner. The license cannot be given back to the previous owner because the condition 16 clearly states that Mr. Travikaran shall not be allowed, or it will be totally banned from the premises. As regards to Duke of York, my client was quite willing to say that he was present what happened there, and he realized what has happened. He understands the area. He's been living in the area for quite a long time. He has also served in previously, and he was lucky enough to get a job in the NHS, and he's now looking to his future. And that is where he's trying to develop his future by coming to these premises. It was unfortunate that in June, the fire took place. It was an arson attack. And you are going to, when you're collecting your community funds or anywhere, I understand from the community that you are going to have negative and you are going to also have positive remarks. And there are some negative remarks on the collection, and there was a lot of positive remarks. So the percentage of positive remarks were more. If we were to stand in an election, we would have a positive votes with us to win the election and forget about the negative votes. So that's exactly what has happened at the premises. So we feel that at this instance, Mr. Sasidharan has said the 4 licensing objectives, how they are going to be promoted. There was no objection to what he said. All the 4 licensing objectives were related by him, and that is what the guidance clearly states. So I think this is what I feel, and this is what I would like to ask Kerry Smart and Bob Deere, that all the matters have been addressed. of what your concerns are. And if there's anything else that can be addressed, we are happy to address it.
Chair, can I answer that on those
Yeah,
points?
please. Yeah, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Pancho just mentioned that that the premise has been licensed for years, and it was due to the freeholder that the license was lost. Obviously, I'm sure he can remember. I'm sure he can remember the other applicant that was put forward by Mr. Pancho, who also breached licensing conditions and actually had his license revoked as well. One of those being Mr. Firakaran being caught in the shop. Mr. Firakaran's wife about to sell a can of alcohol to a drunk person at 7:30 in the morning, and numerous breaches of the license. That man had been on a licensing course and told the committee the 4 license objectives. I don't think the guidance says anywhere that you must know the 4 objectives and then you can get a license. That's part of it. That's part of being a licensee. He's also mentioned that, well, basically prevention is better than cure. Yes, we can review the license if a license is granted again today, but we've already done that twice. I've done that twice. I've stood in also the appeal court twice and defended the committee's decisions that were made for a no license. So I don't see anything that has allayed my concerns today, Chair.
I can answer that, my Chairman, very, very clearly.
Go ahead. Ms. Luff has indicated she wants to make a point as well. So, yeah. Go ahead, Ms.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Just a brief question. I see that Mr. Panchel's mentioned condition 16 about Mr. Thivakaran not being allowed into the property. If he is the freeholder of the property, and I assume that even if and when a lease is granted, he will remain so. How will that work in terms of landlord and tenant law? Surely he would have a right to enter the premises.
Yes, sorry, Alison. It will be very easy because he is allowed to go into the premises when there are unlicensable activities. So when there is no licensable activities carried out, the landlord could be able to go into the premises. So that could be before 8 o'clock in the morning if the license is granted for 8 o'clock, or that could be after 11 o'clock in the night when Mr. Kathiran wants to go and see it. Or the shop could be closed because there would be no licensing activity carried out. The closed shop could be closed and the landlord could then go into the shop and see the tenant, meet the tenant. That could work out. And that would be the way forward for the premises to run.
So between 8 o'clock and 2300, how would he be able to come in and out of his own home, which I believe is above the shop?
Yeah, so that's like I've just explained to you, Chairman, that he will have to stop the licensable activity. He will have to put the shutter down, ask the landlord that he is visiting in, and the landlord will have to give a 4 days notice. It is always.
Sorry, I'm confused.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry.
I don't think I'm confused, but if the gentleman is living above the shop,
yeah,
okay, how would he access his home? What, you know,
he's got an access at the back. He's got an independent access at the back.
Okay, well that's useful. Okay,
yep.
That's useful. So he would have no access whilst there's licensable activity.
Yes, he will have no access because he's got a separate access at the back now.
Okay. But obviously, in terms of law and tenancy, Ms. Love had a separate question. For me, it was more in the practice of the day-to-day practicality. But Alison, did you want to follow up?
Thank you, Chair. No, I'm not an expert on landlord and tenant, but I just wanted that point clarified. You would need to have, if you were going to put that on as a condition, it would have to actually say something like that, because at the moment it just says Mr. Thibokaran shall not be allowed to enter the property. They shall be banned from the premises. Obviously it's not a ban if it's to be how Mr. Panchal proposes.
Okay, right.
Sorry, Chair. We could word it in a way that it would say during licensable activities. These conditions are complied with during licensable activities. All these conditions are under the licensable activity. So if there was no licensable activity, the conditions don't apply. As simple as that.
Well, we don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have any function if you don't have a license.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, right. Let me get back to my checklist.
Councillor Kelly.
Yes, Councillor Sumner.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, but could I ask a question about the CCTV, which I presume, or I'll ask the question: is CCTV actually on the premises? On page 15, it refers to 28-day recording system, but in other places it refers to 31 days CCTV. But if there's no CCTV there at all, that's the question I'm asking. Is there or isn't there any CCTV?
There is a CCTV there, sorry.
There is CCTV on the premises?
Yes, there is, yes.
And how many days does it record for?
31 days.
Well, you'll notice that it refers to 28 days on another part of the, okay, but we're told it's 31 days, yes?
Yeah.
So always check and see whether the person upstairs is downstairs or not. Good.
If you look at page 21 of 48 of the bundle, sorry, Nigel, on the prevention of crime and disorder, number 3 says the systems must record and store images for 31 days.
I know that, sir, but if you go above, you'll see that the CCTV to be installed and 28 days recording system in your objectives. So there was a slight change. This is why I brought it up. Thank you, Mr.
I can answer that if you want me to.
Yes, please, Ismail.
So when the applications are submitted by Mr. Panchal's office, they seem to copy and paste all the conditions, and there's always a discrepancy within the operating schedule. So it's always clarified: is it 28 days or 31? I think they just copy and paste from other applications. That's sort of the known history with Mr. Panchal's office.
So is it 31 then?
It's 31 days, sorry, to be amend that to 31 days.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any indications from anybody at the moment. So if we can, I'll move on to summing up. So what we will do now is go to the authorities, the police, obviously, and the licence authority. Obviously, they've covered some stuff already, so they're very welcome to repeat it, but we've heard what we've heard. And then we'll ask for the applicants to sum up. And obviously, you've got right of reply to anything there. Thank you.
Shall I go first, Chair?
Please.
Okay. I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. As we all, everyone's seen my representation, and I think today it's the police are not convinced that the previous license holder is involved in the premise, and I'm not convinced that the new applicant is going to be responsible enough to promote the licence and objectives, and therefore the police believe that the licence should not be granted. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dare, on behalf of the licensing authority.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as I said before, prevention is better than cure. As our policy says, it's a special priority. I feel that this should be refused. We've already been here 3 times trying to get another license for this premises. There was a serious assault with street drinkers opposite this shop less than 3 weeks ago. Yep, less than 3 weeks ago. And when I said there is no need, we've got 8 off licenses that have a very low compliance rate down that area anyway. That's why it should be refused. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Panchal, would like to sum up on behalf of your client?
Yes, Chair. Yes, we tend to come to these committee meetings and we tend to ask for grants of licenses, and we tend to say that these are the conditions that one has to follow, and if they are breached, they would lose their licenses. Sometimes we do come back to the committee, and so sometimes we lose the license because the client has not complied because he made a mistake or somewhere, and then he loses the license. And then we come back again because the same shop, if the client is breached, he may leave the shop, and it's a good gesture for him to leave the shop, and then we have another person coming in. And this is where we are talking about that. We do get changes of licenses when people do not comply. And it could have even 10, 15 people not complying, and we could get the right person who could comply. In this instance, we feel that this is the right person. He understands the 4 licensing objectives. He's answered everything. He is willing to go forward. He is educated. He can speak very good English. He understands the 4 licensing objectives that he has answered to you. And we feel that here is a way forward for a license. I still mention under 14.19 need is not something that this committee has to look into. There might be 7 licenses there, and we feel that we could find a way forward, and we have to find a way forward for businesses. If there was no community involvement, then we would have no funding going on that. So you could see that there is a community involvement in the area, and the community is looking at this shop. So that is another sign that the community is not ignoring this premises totally. So the community involvement is there, and the community is looking at this shop and saying, yes, we want this shop, but we want the shop to be run properly. So we have now got somebody who can run the shop properly. He is looking forward to it. He is willing to work along with the responsible authorities. And I feel, Chairman, that this is the time that we should grant this license.
Thank you very much, Mr. Panchal. Just before I go to Alison to confirm everything, does any of the members, councillors, do you have any further questions?
Not from myself, thank you.
Councillor, that's fine. Thank you. Alison, before we go to retire, is there anything we need to cover?
No, thank you, Chair. I think everything's been covered.
Thank you very much. It's 13:18. I would anticipate that we're going to retire now. We'll have a decision for you at midday. So if you'd like to sort of stand by.
Midday?
Yeah. Sorry, 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. I beg your pardon. So 2 p.m. We'll be back for the decision notice. But obviously we reserve the right to take longer. But Mr. Panchal, Mr. Dear, PC Smart, if you could be on sort of standby at 5 to 2, I should say, not 5 to 12, 5 to 2. 13.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
So we're going to go off the live feed now.